Welcome to the Elk Talk Podcast with Randy Newberg and Corey Jacobson. Presented by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
The goal is, what little you and I know about elk hunting, we share with people.
I've got an elk building. It's like 120 yards away. What do I do? First off, the thought would never cross my mind when an elk's being 120 yards away to call anybody on a cell phone.
All elk?
All the time? Only elk?
Only elk.
Well, it's us having conversations, so we usually go down some rabbit holes, but
If you hunt with Corey Jacobson, you will find the landscape is full of rabbit holes. We're just going to make this up as we go.
and you look at it like, oh, that's a target-rich environment. But if you're trying to single one out, a solo target there is much easier to go into than a big group.
We record everything, so there's no BSing, no lying, no faking it with us.
Did we hit the record
I
button?
thought I forgot to hit the record button. If you want to know something about elk hunting, this probably isn't the podcast to listen to. Should we give them a list of all the other podcasts where they might learn something? Good afternoon, Corey Jacobson.
Howdy. Happy Friday, Randy.
Yeah, happy Friday. How about that? This is the last Friday before elk season really gets started, right?
Yeah, the next Friday is September 1st. So this is the last Friday before the time of year we all live for.
How can I be this fat and out of shape and it's only a week until elk season?
Well, on the flip side, my son Isaac just found out this week he drew a pretty phenomenal elk tag, and he's asking me, Dad, how am I going to make it through the next 4 weeks? Because his hunt doesn't start until later in September.
Well, I guess he'll just have to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I already told him, I'm like, you know what? Your sister now has a full-time dedicated caller. That's really nice of you to offer that. He was like, no, seriously, I want to. That's what I'm going to do. So he's planning on calling for Jesse, and then when Donnie and I get back from our hunt, we're going to pick him up and head down. And it's the same unit that you spent time in last year with your buddy with the super tag. So.
Wow. Well, that's one of those units where you just stand there and slam your car door.
It's like Wayne Carlton said, and I asked him how easy was it to bugle an elk back in the 1980s. He said it was like shutting your truck door. Or no, it was like getting out of the truck.
Oh, well, that unit is definitely a special place. That'll be fun.
I've dreamed about having a archery tag and bow in hand in that unit, and it's having Isaac have it is probably just as good as having it myself. So
I've been hiking every evening and bumped into a few elk. And I don't know if they're just that fat this year, or I just didn't notice them being this fat in late August before.
They look pregnant again.
Yeah, these elk that I've seen are grossly obese. I don't know what their BMI index is, but it's going to have to take one hell of a winter to starve these ones out.
Yep.
I don't know if
It's
they're
still
down.
green. It's still green in elk country right now.
At least in our part of the world. I don't know how it is down in New Mexico and Arizona. I heard they got like a tropical storm down there or something last week.
We got one here.
What?
Yeah. I just had my driveway redone last week, and 2 days later we get the remnants of Tropical Storm Hillary that blew through, and I mean, it washed ruts down my driveway. We got a lot of rain in a little bit of time.
That's what you get for living up on the mountain.
Well, we can tolerate it.
See, if you're down in the low country, if you're a downstreamer like me, you're just getting the sandbags out to make sure you don't get flooded out. You're not worried about your driveway washing out. Go get your P-row ready to go take your canoe down to the grocery store or something when you live down in the flat country like I do. But I just could not believe. I don't know if it's just the sleekness of their summer coat still there, and they just like ripple with fat.
Yeah, they're definitely. I know it's the same thing. I mean, cows look literally almost like they're pregnant, like they did, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. They put on weight really, really well this summer. I just think there was an abundance of good feed, and they didn't have to move for it.
Yeah. Well, one of my buddies said he was out calling last night. I asked him, "Did you call anything in?" He said, "No." Like, what?
Well,
he said he needed to practice. He said his wife was tired of him practicing in the house, so he decided to go out in the hills and practice.
Well, I'm gonna head out tonight, I think, and take a bugle tube and just see if there's anything that's stretching its vocal cords yet.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if I didn't hear one tonight.
Really?
Yeah, it just seems like that week before season, I have better luck hearing a bugle or two than actually opening day sometimes. So.
Wow. Huh. Well, that's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
I was thinking to save weight, I was just going to hunt the first week of season up in the mountains with nothing but a cow call. Yeah. I could leave that 4-ounce bugle tube back in the truck.
Yeah. I mean, you're an ounce counter. I know that. I've seen your backpack. It's you got boxes of shotgun shells from duck season still in there. Like, why are you packing that around? Oh, I didn't know it was in there.
Yeah,
I haven't heard me packing a 12 or 15 pound rock around one day for quite a while.
I know, and that tells you how overloaded my pack is. I didn't even really notice until you told me I can't make you walk the rest of the way out of here with this 12-pound rock in your pack. What are you talking about?
I didn't think you would be able to lift your pack and put it on your shoulders without telling that rock was in there. And then we just kept going, and finally we got down to the road, and we had probably a 2 or 3 mile walk on the road back to the side-by-side. And I'm like, I can't let you just plod along and blow your knee out with a 15-pound rock in your backpack. Take your backpack off. And you're like, what?
Yeah, I'm slow. I tell you. Or when I take a nap, I take a serious nap. You could pretty much, I guess, kidnap me, hijack me, whatever. Take everything I own. I'm over there, man. I'm here to sleep. I'm not here to keep an eye on my gear.
Yeah.
So, but
your camera guys weren't very protective of you. They were more than happy to film that happen.
Yeah, that's standard for them. But oh well. I guess I don't got to worry about leaving my 4-ounce bugle tube at the truck. I might just pack that just for the heck of it.
My guess is you probably have something else in your pack that would work for a bugle tube anyway.
Yeah, I probably could make something work. I
don't know.
Dig
around enough, yeah.
Yeah, the thing I do have a pretty good case full of Montec makes like these really good small game heads.
G5,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 of those in a case in my backpack.
Yep. I actually have one on an arrow in my quiver. I carry one.
Yeah, I mean.
You have 3 extras.
Yeah.
To replenish the 3 that are in your quiver.
Maybe.
I think we've joked before about me carrying 4 broadheads and 1 grouse arrow, and you carrying 4 grouse arrows and 1 broadhead in case you see an elk.
Yep. We have talked about that. You looked at my quiver one time and you just shook your head and walked away. I have never had to shoot 5. Why would you keep 5 broadheads? I've never had to shoot 5 broadheads at anything. All that does is I end up having to shoot broadheads at grouse, and I have done that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so. But
I actually I bought some little steel balls. So Tyler and I, we've been working on that new video series that we're going to launch this fall. And one of the episodes of it, we had a slingshot and BB gun competition. And so I bought a big old box full of steel balls for the slingshot. I'm thinking I might carry a slingshot and a pocket full of steel balls with me this year and
really
use that to shoot grouse.
I'm not good enough at that, especially now with my bum hand.
I didn't think I was good enough either, but man, after that little competition, I thought I could be taking the head off of a grouse at 15 yards with this thing. So
Yeah, now that you've had LASIX and you can see their head at 15
I could
yards.
shoot their eyeball out, I bet.
Well, I haven't had LASIX for 16 years, Corey, so I've got an excuse. But someone was asking me the other day how my shooting is going with my bum arm. You know, I still have that one tendon that isn't attached, and my wrist has a tendency to curve in. And I was telling them, I hate to admit this, but my shooting this year has actually improved. And he's like, what? And this is in the serious part of it is, you know, with the wrist strap, when I'm pulling, I have to really relax my wrist, and it's like one more conscious part of the, okay, bubbles level, am I breathing right? And I'm forcing myself to relax my wrist more because of that tendon gone. And it's amazing if you relax your wrist and just let your finger just like this little bit of tension.
Yep.
How good your form gets, because you're not in this like highly strong hand tense, boom, pull the trigger. It's just like let the weight of your finger on that trigger, and
you just focus on aiming. Yeah.
So I hate to say that after all these years of shooting a bow, that I had to run my arm through a glass shower door to improve my shooting form. But
well, speaking of shooting, we did, you and I were talking before we jumped on, and we've gotten like, I don't know, 30 or 40 emails with questions here just in the last week.
Yeah.
And got one here from a listener. He asked, when should I start shooting broadheads? And what's the best way to tune your bow from field tip to broadhead? So the date he sent that was August 17th.
Oh boy, that's a bummer. He's about 11 months late.
Definitely later than when I would start shooting broadheads. I shoot broadheads the day I set my bow up. And that's how I know that they're tuned. I don't wait until 2 weeks before season, because typically, if you haven't paid that close of attention to the tuning initially, it's not going to be tuned. And we're talking your bow. You don't tune broadheads. You don't tune arrows necessarily. It's your bow's tuning that makes the arrows shoot the same with field tips and broadheads.
Yep.
And so that's just, I set up the bow, I shoot it through paper, and I get it shooting a good hole through paper tune it. And then the next thing I do is I grab a broadhead and a field point, and I go to a target at 20 yards, and I shoot the broadhead, and then I shoot the field point. And if they don't slap each other at 20 yards, it's not fine tuned. And so I do that initially when I set up the bow. And then you always want to check it. And if you wanted to check it, I'd probably start checking it the 1st of August. But if they aren't shooting the exact same, it's because either your arrows are not spined correctly or your bow is not set up so that it's shooting perfectly tuned.
Yeah. I have 3 broadheads that, they're dull, obviously, by now. But I rotate them across every arrow that I own. And I don't know if it's just the arrows that I'm using are just so good for my bow and the 61 pounds I shoot at or what. But, man, I get a lot of consistency. And I don't know why that is. I hear a lot. And I'm shooting a 2-blade. A lot of people are like, oh, boy, you're going to get a lot of planing. And, boy, that's going to be tough to tune. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I just stumbled on the winning combination or something. But every night I have one target. So I have a foam target, I have 2 deer targets, and then I have a block that's one of the ones you can shoot broadheads into. And I just rotate them through, and it's 1 out of every 3 arrows is a broadhead. And they just... I don't know. They said, someone would say, well, yeah, they're all terrible shots, Randy. That's why you're consistently terrible. But The other thing I've been doing the last few years is at low light. I've noticed how my eyes have a tougher time at lower light when you're looking through that little peep. I'm talking like last low light. So I do have these little square, like little diamonds, maybe ½ inch by ½ inch of orange reflective tape on there. Maybe that's why my shooting's better. I've never seen an elk walking around
I was going to say
reflective tape on there, so maybe I should pull that off and then see how it works. But the reason I do that is I'm trying to have this little specific spot that I am focusing on rather than, oh, here's the lungs on that target or here's the heart on that target. It's like, no, I want to try and nick the corner off that little diamond.
Aim small, miss small.
And now that I say that, yeah, I've been shooting better this year and I'll probably airball one way over the top or way underneath a big bull elk, and the audience will be like, yeah, old Newberg, he's really got it polished up this year.
Maybe he needs to touch up his LASIK.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, the beauty of just experimenting and doing that over the course of the summer is I can get bored just going and shooting, 6 arrows for breakfast, 6 for lunch, 6 for dinner. So I just throw on some broadheads and kind of have my pet arrows, if you want to call it that. Right now, I got my 4 best arrows that maybe they're not the best, but I've marked them as that for my own mental psyche, right? Like, man,
well, they aren't the only 4 that are the same length. That's not how you find your favorite 4, is it?
No, it's all based on color.
Okay. So one of the episodes that Tyler and I filmed in our new series was with bows, and we show up and Tyler has 5 arrows. They're different lengths. They have different fletches on them. 2 of them I can't even spin on my thumb because they're so bent they bounce off it before. They're like, is this what it's like hunting with you? Like, you show up first day and it's like, I found these 5 arrows in the closet and drug them out. And these 2 are my kids, and this one I found at a bow shoot last year.
Yeah. Well, kind of like the old boys I grew up deer hunting with. They had a whole handful of 30-30 bullets. You never knew. I got an old Winchester silver tip, and I got a Remington Corlock here, and
one of them's 120 grain, one of them's 140, and this one feels heavier.
Yeah. I just stick them in there. They all work the same. Makes you wonder how many guys show up with 4 different spined arrows and the length of arrows.
I guarantee it. Yeah, I've hunted with people that literally stop. They're like, I only have 3 arrows left. I'm going to stop by Walmart and grab a couple more. And they come out like, they only had 2 of the ones that I like. And so I got this other one. Well, the 2 that they like weren't the same as the other 3. So they literally have arrows that are full length. They didn't get them cut or anything. They screw a broadhead into it and shoot it at a pipe plate at 20 yards, and it hits the bottom edge of the pipe plate, and like, oh, that's close enough, and they go hunting. And that's usually about the last time that we share a hunting camp together.
Man, well, don't be making fun of my family like that, Corey.
Well, I'd go there for Thanksgiving dinner, but I probably wouldn't spend a week in hunting camp with them.
One of the listeners sent us an email. He sent it today, and he said yesterday he broke his collarbone, and he's trying to figure out how he's going to pack his elk out.
Yeah.
I can give him Bo Beatty's phone number for Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas.
I was sitting there reading that, and I was trying to think, because he said, what about some kind of a skid or a sled that I could hook up and pull out, with the bum collarbone? And obviously you can't carry a backpack with any weight in it. And so I was thinking of all these ideas. He said, Corey, with your engineering degree, and Randy, as long as you've been hunting, have you guys seen anything? And I didn't even think about llamas, but yeah, that's the easy no-brainer solution, that he just needs to take a llama with him.
Yeah. I do have a friend in Canada who uses dogs. He said each dog can carry about 20 pounds. I'm like, well, you're going to have to, I didn't throw that out there as a suggestion. Because at 20 pounds of load, that's an awful lot of loads for a bull elk.
Not only that, but you're putting 20 pounds of fresh elk meat on a dog's back. How many pounds do you end up with when you get back to the house?
I don't know.
Any dog I know wouldn't just pack 20 pounds of meat on its back without sampling it.
Yeah, well, that's a funny story. Can you open for a tangent? So, talking about dogs eating. So, my stepdad, I had to watch his dog for a while when I was a college student in Nevada. He had this 18-year-old Chihuahua. It looked like an overgrown rat. And I'd shot this mule deer, and I'm trimming it up out in the garage. And the dog's name was Sam. And right where the flank is behind the ribs before you get to the hind quarter. Well, I'd cut that up and I'd laid it off to the side, and I'm quartering the rest of it. And all of a sudden, here, this little rat had taken that long strip of meat and had inhaled it and was gagging and dying and couldn't breathe. So I'm looking at that 18-year-old convalescing misfit. I'm like, this dog has bit me 3 or 4 times. I just let it choke to death there. So I pull out this big long string of venison out of its mouth, and it just went and laid over on the corner of the garage there and just panted. And it died the next day.
What?
Yeah, I told him, I said, look, it died old age. But I told him that day, I said, man, I don't think Sam is doing that well. He's like, I wonder why. I said, I don't know. I just rescued him. I gave him the Heimlich there, and he coughed out a big ball of venison about as long as my arm. This is like an 8-pound dog or something. So he blamed me for killing his little Chihuahua rat.
Man.
After that, but anyhow, when you talked about the dog eating all the meat, that got me thinking about that. So it had nothing to do with elk hunting, but some people have told us that the reason they listen to this podcast isn't necessarily for the elk hunting advice, but some of the stories. So there we go. Maybe Randy
some of the rabbit holes. Yeah,
maybe Randy killing his stepdad's Chihuahua rat. Maybe that'll be a story worth telling. I don't know.
That's great.
So we got some other ones there. Most of them are about calling.
Yeah, there's one that somebody sent in. They said that they have a question related to muzzleloader hunting, and their partner and them have the Colorado muzzleloader tags. One of them has a bull tag and the other has a cow tag. And the question is, should we go for a cow if we find cows and no bull, or should we hold off for a bull since it's the rut?
I'd say shoot whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, no, one on the ground is better than 2 in the bush, or something. There's a saying about that.
Yeah.
Don't sniff a gift elk.
Yeah, when I read that one, it got me thinking, and I told Michael here in the office, he's the guy filming my Idaho elk hunt, because you told me that I might be able to shoot a cow elk on the archery tag I have. I went and looked it up.
Did you verify?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay.
And I told Michael, I said, I'm down to eating nothing but mule deer burger in my freezer. If I see a cow elk, I'm shooting that thing. He's like, really? You'd shoot a cow elk? I'm like, Michael, you better have that camera rolling if it's anything other than a spotted calf, because last year I shot an elk and I shot a pronghorn. And the only thing I got left is the mule deer meat I'm not borrowing. I stole from Matthew, my son. My freezer is looking pretty, what's old Mother Hubbard went to her cupboard and the cupboard was bare or whatever. That's my freezer right now. So if I go to Idaho, I'm not going to have the dilemma that guy's having in Colorado there about bull or cow. This illegal elk, spike, Boone and Crockett, whatever, cow, yearling, boom. Well, not boom, thump.
Yeah. Nope, that's they eat the same. You've got a tag for each one, so get one out of the way, whether it's a bull or a cow, and then go hunt the other one. Don't worry about
what do you
scaring.
mean?
Well, the guy's question about would you shoot a cow?
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
His question. I thought you were talking to me. I'm like,
No,
I didn't know I got 2 for the price of 1 down there. And
no, you shoot either sex, not both sex.
Okay.
Yeah, either. Yeah,
Okay.
one or the other. But no, I mean, in your case, you can shoot either one. They've got 2 tags, so they can shoot either one. So it's don't pass one up waiting for another.
Yeah, you know what happens there? Then you pass one up, and then you get to the last couple days of season, and you're like, boy, we should have shot that one on day 2. What were we thinking?
Yeah.
I'd way rather be sitting in camp eating tenderloins that night, doing the yuck, laughing it up. I don't care if it had antlers or not, but.
Yep. So that's what I would do. My approach would be shoot the first one you have an opportunity for. You both have a tag, both be hunting. If a cow comes in, the guy with the cow tag gets it. If the bull comes in, the guy with the bull tag gets it.
Yeah. So I was doing some e-scouting last night. And the other part that's really troublesome about this year with all this water and moisture is the corresponding amount of vegetation and forage growth makes e-scouting a lot harder.
Oh, yeah.
There are going to be elk scattered from the low country to the high country, from the southwest face wrapped all the way around over to the southeast face.
Yep. Yeah. There is no lack of food in a lot of I don't know, I can't speak for the entire West, but I think the Rocky Mountain region has gotten more moisture this year and has more abundant feed in locations where there might not have ever been good feed before. And so, there's water everywhere.
Yeah.
The elk are just going to be scattered, which is awesome. I think you're going to find elk in more places this year. It might not be the big groups. When they scatter like that, you might not have the same competition for cows, as many bulls trying to get in on the cows, but it's nice that you're going to be able to go out every day and maybe hike up a different ridge and be into fresh elk sign.
Yeah. So that's it. Now my e-scouting map, I'll look up my go hunt terrain analysis and all that. I have so many waypoints. I'm probably going to have to put more phone memory, not foam memory, phone memory in to get all my waypoints in there. It's like, holy cow. And then I'm only in each of my hunts, I only do 5 days. There's no way I'm going to be able to cover all these potential waypoints in 5 days. So I'm going to have to start in the next 4 or 5 days here. I'm going to have to stake a plan out and stick with it. Because right now, when it's this wet and you overlay the moisture maps and everything, it's like, oh boy, this is hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Maybe I won't see anything.
Maybe.
I keep having this premonition I'm going to get eaten by a grizzly bear.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I've told a couple people that.
Well, you just told a lot of people that.
Yeah, I don't know why I have that this year, Corey. I hunt grizzly bear country all the time, and I don't know why this year it's just in my head.
Man.
Yeah, so I went and bought an extra bear spray. It's like, well, Randy, if they're chewing on your head and one bear spray didn't work, first of all, they probably broke your arms, and you aren't going to be able to pull off the second one. And I don't know. My mind's been wandering about this hunting in grizzly bear country more than it ever has. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old and I'm thinking about the fact that so far Father Time is undefeated. So maybe I'm finally doing the appropriate level of risk assessment. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
So,
maybe it's all the emails we get from everybody expressing their concern about hunting in grizzly country that's got you kind of thinking,
that might be.
Maybe I should be concerned.
Yeah, we've got quite a few emails about that over the summer of what do you do and how do you do, and the one podcast you talked about how you stay out of grizzly bear country after about the first week or so of season because there's so many gut piles around. Some guy from Wyoming emailed us and talked about he kind of does the same thing, but he'll hunt until the first gunshots. He's of the theory that the gunshots are
what
attracting him.
See, I really think, and I've seen it towards the end of September, it seems like the berries dry up and the bears leave that high country like mid-September into the latter part of September, and they come down into the areas where it seems like we're more concentrated hunting. And so, I don't think it's necessarily gunshots, because the gunshots in a lot of areas don't start until October 15th. And I've seen bears really start showing up the end of September. So that's why I do it. If I really think that there's always going to be bears in that area, but they're going to be a lot more concentrated in that area the later in the season you go. And so, I think your chances are the best of not having a bear encounter the first day of the archery season, the 1st of September, and every day that goes by, the odds go up of having an encounter, just because more bears are going to be coming out of the high country and into that area. And I think they know it as a food source. I mean, they know that those gut piles are going to start showing up more abundantly. The berries are drying up. There's going to be gut piles down a little lower. So let's head down there and see how many gut piles there are.
Yeah.
And look, there's these gut piles that are still walking around with 2 legs. Let's go carrying one of those.
Yeah. So we got an email, and then I also got a text message from a guy I know who listens to the podcast, and they were both about a comment we made last time. We're kind of joking about the guy who drives his ATV or his pickup truck, turns it off, and 20 seconds later lets out a bugle.
Yeah.
And both of these people said, well, laugh it up now, funny boy, but it works where I'm at because there's roads everywhere. So if the elk were going to avoid a road or a bugle from a road, they'd have to leave the county. I never really thought about that because I don't hunt areas with that many roads.
No, and when I make that comment, it's to give to suggest maybe waiting a couple minutes from when you shut the diesel off before you bugle, because typically, in my experience, an elk isn't going to bugle over the top of a truck driving by. On public land, even if there's a lot of roads, they're used to it and they're going to hunker down in the brush till the truck goes by and it gets quiet, and then they'll pick back up. But my point in saying, making fun of people who get out of their truck, you can hear the radio still going, then you can hear the seatbelt chime going off, and then they slam the door, and then 3 seconds later you hear doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That's... The elk aren't that dumb. Even a bull elk in the middle of a rut, all he can think about is fighting and breeding. He's still going to be like, hold on, sounded like a county fair up there.
We got a couple comments, though, people saying, well, I'm not buying in on your theory, boys. So, okay, I get it.
I'm all about being mobile and, using road systems to go and find bugles, but I don't slam the door and follow it up with a bugle. I give them a little bit of time to let the woods quiet down. I don't want them correlating a truck door slamming and a bugle going off to happening at the same time. Yeah.
So I know I'm looking forward to this Idaho hunt. I've never shot a bull in Idaho. So I might shoot a spotted calf before a bull comes along. So maybe I won't shoot a bull in Idaho. But I know I'm just country I've looked at lots and lots, driven by so many times. And I said, someday I'm going hunting in there. Well, I guess I am. Yeah. Someday's here.
That's right.
So I'm going to go.
Sorry, you're the only one that has a tag there, right?
Yep.
Just you. So if you shoot an elk, you're just going to pack up and head back home.
Yeah. Go shoot a limited grouse.
There you go.
Afterwards or beforehand or whatever.
You got the license.
Speaking of which, somebody emailed us and said, how do you make grouse taste good?
It's as easy as getting out of a truck.
Yeah, I got to pull that one up. I don't mean to rat the guy out. I'm not going to use his name, but he said that he's never cooked a grouse that was anything other than tasted like a rubber ball.
Duck. A rubber duck.
Yeah. It's like, Whoa, wait a
Said,
second.
last year I cooked up a few grouse that we shot. They tasted like rubber ducks. I put them in a hot cast iron, maybe overcooked them. I want to enjoy these birds because lately we've been harvesting a lot more grouse than elk. What's the tastiest way to brew up these birds?
Yeah, don't put them in a cast iron and cook them real hot.
Yeah.
So if
That's
anything,
the best way to make them tough.
Yeah, that's like my Grandma Harriet. My Grandma Harriet, if it was meat, white meat, red meat, didn't matter, she would cook it within an inch of its life, and then she'd put it back in for another half hour. Yeah. I think the first charcoal briquette was invented by my Grandma Harriet, and it was the way that she cooked meat. Well, one, it's dry as a board, and probably break your tooth on it. There's no juice, no flavor left. You know, and then you get these northern Minnesota boys. They just put a bunch of condiments, a bunch of pucky on there. You know, the way my Grandma Harriet cooked meat, it was nothing more than a condiment delivery vehicle. And so
it was no better than a slice of overcooked stale bread.
Yeah, you may as well just have a ketchup sandwich, or, you know, get some A1 sauce and put it on, you know, the hot dog or something. And, you know, same thing. And
so what's the secret to cooking a grouse? If you're out in the field, you're at camp.
Slow.
Yeah.
Okay. Once the juices are slightly, and just, you know, all they got to be is clear. You're done.
So do you cook it in grease? Do you cook it in butter?
Either would work. I usually have a little vat of extra virgin olive oil and just a little pan. And I keep a lid on the pan so that it keeps moisture in, cooks, it keeps the heat in, so the top is getting cooked, so you don't have to keep it in there as long. And then I got my special seasoning that I use for grouse that someday I'm going to start the Randy Newberg Seasoning Company.
Ooh. You aren't going to share what that is?
No. My wife had divorced me.
If somebody had just a lemon pepper concoction or something like that, it would probably work great.
It would work really, really good. And if you put a little bit of garlic and a little bit of cayenne in there and maybe a little bit of paprika, a little bit of white pepper, a little lemon pepper.
I've seen your hunting camps before.
Yeah. All you got to do is just, you prepare it at home, and you make a little bag, and you just bread it in that. It's not even like a breading. Like, you don't dredge it through a bunch of egg whites or milk and roll it in there. You're trying to get the spices there and the flavors, and you're looking for flavors that are helpful with the white meat of rough grouse.
Yep.
And so
And if you happen to find a couple shaggy Maine mushrooms along the side of the road after a rainstorm and cut those up and put them in there with a little bit of butter, there is nothing better than grouse and mushrooms at hunting camp in September.
Oh, I've never done that part of it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to check it out. But anyhow, it's kind of like when someone tells me, oh, well, I've tried that elk, that's just tough as all get out.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, you must have cooked the shank down underneath the front leg or something, and nothing but tendon.
And cooked it to within an inch of its life.
Yeah. Or you just, you cook everything to an internal temperature of 800 degrees, Yeah. They have to go down to the blast furnace at the steel plant to get enough heat to cook meat to their liking. Well,
it would warm the sun up if they put that piece of meat next to it.
Yeah. I mean, you should almost be able to get arrested for wanton waste the way that some people cook their elk meat.
Yeah. And I've had, and it's like anything, we talk about tuning a bow, and it's all about the bow. Yeah, there's always going to be exceptions that just certain broadheads just aren't going to fly good out of a certain bow at a certain speed, with all that. And it's the same, I'm sure, with elk, but I have never eaten a gamey elk. I have never tasted an elk that tasted gamey, but people say, oh, old bull, they're tough and they're gamey and they're rutting, and an elk that, you shoot it and it runs off and dies an hour later, all that adrenaline's there in it, and it makes it gamey and it makes the meat bad. And I've never experienced any of that. And I've been on elk that have lived overnight and were shot and finished off the next day, and they tasted fine. I've found elk that laid in the heat for a couple hours with the hide on. They were fine. I think the key point is to get the meat cooled as quickly as you can after the elk dies. And that doesn't mean it has to be within 10 minutes, but the faster you do it, the more tender the meat's going to be, the better flavor that's going to be in it. The longer that hide sits on there and the meat cools slowly with that hide on there, that's when you start getting into troubles.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't care what Grandpa said or Uncle Billy Bob. If you have an elk that through an arrow or a bullet, you kind of have a transverse, path of the projectile and you hit some gut, do the gutless method.
Yeah.
Don't open that thing up and let those gut juices roll down the inside of the back, the hind quarters.
Oh my goodness, yes. You're gonna lose the tenderloins on that elk. If the gut matter has been exposed to the inside, the tenderloins have been exposed, and you just have to let those go. But I'd rather lose as much as I love a tenderloin, it's way better to stomach that going, not coming home with you, than watching brown and green gut matter flow over the exposed hind quarter as it comes out of the body cavity.
Yeah, and then you hang it in your game bag for a day, and it's warm out, and you're wondering, man, you smell that? What's that? Smells like your neighbor when they threw the fish guts in the garbage can for a week in a hot August sun, It's like, well,
It smells like your neighbor's garbage. I don't know that throwing fish in the garbage can is going to make your neighbor smell bad.
Oh, did I say that wrong? Garbage was stinking it up the other day.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. I'm like, Michael, what the hell did you throw in there? I didn't even look. But anyhow, that's about what your elk meat's going to smell like if you open up a punctured gut cavity and say, well, Grandpa said we got to do the traditional method. You know what? There's a reason we do the gutless method.
Not only that, then you climb into the body cavity and you go up to your elbows, up to the neck, and cut the windpipe out and dragging all that stuff through the whole body cavity, and you got it on your pants and your arms, and it's a mess. So I have found no reason under any circumstance that I have to gut an elk anymore. There are times when I will.
Right.
But those are very rare times, and there's really no reason not to do the gutless.
Yeah. So, debate we've been having in our office, you're on a slope. Do you want the elk's head down slope, or you want the elk's head up slope? Or do you just, wherever he lays, that's how I do it?
If I'm doing the gutless method, it really doesn't matter, but I always like the head uphill.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way that I approach the elk. I start behind the hind quarter, behind the front quarter, making my incision to get the skin off. And so it's just.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm going to try this year, because there's one person who firmly believes that if the head is slightly downhill, it relieves all the pressure and it makes it easier to do the hind quarters.
Sure.
Because now the guts roll up into the cavity instead of down.
Yep.
I'm probably going to give it a try because I'm like you. I've always done it that way. And a lot of times it just depends on where it lays and, what terrain. And if it's, really steep or there's a bunch of dirt or whatever, it's like, okay, how can I do this as precisely as possible from where it lays right now?
No.
I know the cuts I got to get off here. There doesn't have to be a certain sequence.
No.
Sometimes I'll do the hind quarter first, and sometimes I'll do the front quarter first, then the back, then the back strap, and then the hind quarter. It just depends on the situation. So, I hope I have to contemplate that issue when I'm out there this year.
Well, and I think if it was on a steep hill, I would still rather do it sideways, not with the head up or down, but with it level, because then you're able to get underneath the elk and You're not bent over, leaning downhill, reaching farther. You still have everything right in front of you there. You're still going to make the cuts. The guts are, they might be back a little bit, but they aren't forced between the pelvic bone there. And then when you do have to roll it over, you can grab the back leg, drag it down the hill a little bit, roll the elk, and then just pull it side hill again. And so it's probably 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I don't think there's a wrong way.
No, and I just encourage people, go and do it and try it, because there's no better way to learn than experience.
Yeah.
And just some basic things is, one, don't punch the gut when you're doing this. Don't, if you made a great long shot, don't go and jabbing around and put a big hole in the gut sac there.
Yeah.
And if for some reason an arrow or a bullet did puncture the gut, stay away from that. Work around it. Work outside of it. So, we've had some questions about warm weather meat care recently.
I was just going to say, that was my next topic. I was talking about, had a few emails of, I'm going to be hunting the first week of September. What do I do with meat when I get an elk down? Because I probably only have a few hours before it starts spoiling. So, a couple things. Number one, you've got a long time before meat starts spoiling, even in hot weather. The heat from an elk that causes it to spoil comes from inside the elk.
Internal,
it's the bone heat, the heat that's right up, especially that back leg, that hind quarter, that big ham on there is just a great big ball of insulation, and it's keeping that heat along the leg bone inside there and making it hard for that heat to escape. So first thing you do, get the hide off. That gets heat coming out of the meat quickly, and then I always take a knife and just run it right down along that back leg bone and open it up so it's exposed, so all that heat can just pour out of there. And it does pour out of there. And even if it's 80 degrees outside, you get in the shade and you open that up and let that heat come out, and within 40 minutes or so, that meat's going to be cool to the touch. When you put your hand on it, you're like, wow, that feels almost cold. So it'll lose heat quickly, and that's, I think, the key in hot weather. If the hide stays on it, or if the meat's not opened up so that heat stays against the bone, your rate of thermal transfer, that's going clear back to college days and thermodynamics, but the rate, because of the heat outside, there's not as much of a delta in the change in temperature, so it's going to be slower to reduce that temperature from the bone to the outside. You open the meat up and it's going to come out a lot faster, and it just moves faster through air than it does through that meat. So get it opened up, get the hide off of it, get the heat away from the bone, and then hang it in the shade. And even in 80-degree weather, that meat's probably going to be okay, even for several days if you keep it in the shade. Find a creek where it's cool along there, hang it there in the shade next to that creek, and that meat's going to keep.
Yeah, that's the easy answer is, once you get it off the animal, then get it as cool as possible. But you think about the mass and the heat in those bones, and then you've got this big stomach cavity that has bacteria that's still in there working. That's why you get the bloating after an animal dies, right? All this heat and this bacteria. Those are the problems.
Yeah.
It's pretty common sense after that of, shade, wind,
Moisture's bad. Don't dip the quarter in the creek. I mean, if you put it in a garbage bag and put it in water, that's different. But I've heard people say, I took my game bag, so, it's fine. It's not getting any dirt on it or anything. And I just set the quarters in a creek and let the water run over them. It's like, that might be great right then for cooling them off. But when you take that meat out of the creek, it's soaked in water. And that's a bed of bacteria waiting to breed right there.
Yeah, if you wonder about that, I'd suggest you go take a little plastic tray, put some water in it, and just set it outside and let some pollen and dirt and stuff blow in there, and give yourself about a day and see if you'd be interested in drinking the scum that grew off the top of that water.
Better yet, do that and take a chunk of meat and set in that tray with some water in it and leave it outside.
Yeah, add a little organic matter there.
Yeah.
We
One
got
other
an email.
question. Oh, yeah, I was just going to say on that topic, somebody asked, they said they had, I think they said they'd done an internet search. You know, we talk about sometimes taking our meat to the closest town and hanging it there. And they said, you just call around for places. I can tell you right now, there's not a way to search Google for elk storage. How do you find places to hang it? So first thing I do if I'm hunting an area I've not been to, I'll just call the closest towns and call the game processors there. And a lot of times those game processors will let you hang meat in their cooler for, you know, they'll charge you for the cooler space. But that's usually what we do. Most of the places that we hang our elk while we're still out hunting are at butchers, game processors that we call. And so just call around all the towns close to where you're hunting. You know, even the little towns, a lot of times will have a game processor, and a lot of times they're more than happy to take $25 a day from you or something and let you hang the meat there.
Yeah. No, you know, I usually am very comfortable for 3 days in the backcountry, even when it's warm weather.
Yeah.
And we're not good enough hunters in my crew that we got to worry that we're going to shoot 2 elk in 3 days. So usually we get the heck out of there. But we got a question. Someone says they're coming to Montana and they've heard me talk about the preference of forage for elk starts with, you know, forbs and then goes to grasses and last to shrubs. And they're like, yeah, we came out this summer and, you know, there's grass everywhere. There's forbs everywhere. It's like, yep. So in my hikes this week, this year's a bit of an exception where there are still a few forbs out there. And the forbs that I'm seeing the most of are the lupines. That's a northern plant. It's usually tall, stemmy, and purple.
Has a purple flower on top.
Yeah. Elk will mow that down and just like, you know, I'm sitting there with a bowl of ice cream with chocolate syrup, man. Just like, get out of the way. Someone could get hurt here. You put your hand near that. So I have on some of the north and northeast and northwest slopes. I've been still seeing some lupine, which this is really late for that.
Yeah.
Usually it's dried up by now.
It's usually like a Memorial Day into June type of a thing, and then it's done.
Yep. Haven't seen much in the way anymore of larkspurs. The balsam root, that's all dried up. I mean, even in a wet year like this, balsam root will dry up really quick. And it is. That's that stuff, people. If you're wondering what balsam root is, it's like the noisiest stuff you're going to ever walk through. And between you and where you got to get to, you'll see an elk and you got to get to some cover. And that's the time there's a big patch of dried out, noisy balsam root that is like walking. I'm trying to think what it's like if you rolled
like
up
walking through a playground filled with Rice Krispies or something.
Yeah.
You can't take a step without making noise.
Yeah. So you can count on those being dried up also. So the things that are really up there right now are the grasses, the fescues and the rye and the bluegrasses are just, they're as tall as, I mean, they're mid chest on me right now. Some of them, it's like, whoa. And the elk that I bumped the other day that were just, I don't want to say bump. They're just feeding and they look over and they're like, what is that on the ridgeline? And it's me. They moved off. They were actually in the bunch grasses up in the lodgepole. They were up pretty high.
So bunch grass, is that like a bear grass, like the kind of thicker blade grass that comes out of a clump and kind of cascades over on all the sides?
Kind of. Well, it doesn't come on a really big clump.
Okay.
I'm going to Google it here and see if I got a picture. Well, I can't show.
Because I've just, bear grass, I think we're all familiar with bear grass, and I've never seen that being much of a food source for elk.
Yeah. Trying to think. Bunch grasses, they're usually going to grow like on the edge of a burn. You'll find them a lot. It's, and there's different types of bunch grasses. Like there's blue bunch. There's you hear a lot of people. You'd be walking around, they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's bunch grass." It's like, well, that's really needle grass. Well, yeah, same thing. No, that's tussock grass. Yeah, same thing. So there's a whole bunch of different ones out there.
They just grow in clumps, basically, rather than a nice manicured fescue ryegrass patch. It's just a clump of grass, and then there might be some dirt and pine needles, and then another clump of grass.
Yep. Yeah. And, the tall stuff that you see right now is usually the ryes and the bluegrasses. But I was just looking, that group of elk, once they finally did move off, I watched them for a while. They were head down feeding on the lower grasses, which tells me they weren't going after the stuff that was up to my waist.
Yeah.
They're into the shorter stuff. The taller grasses get real stemmy and lose their nutritional value.
And dry
so they're
out.
they're looking for that stuff. The fresher, newer, and shorter it is, usually the highest nutritional value it has per pound of consumed forage. So if you're out there and you find really fresh elk droppings somewhere, or you see tracks, which are a little harder to see now, it's easy in the snow, but pay attention to where that's at and what forage is there.
Yeah, there's a reason they walked right through there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're all milling around here? Oh, okay. Go check that out. Even if they move up, go check out and see what it was that they were foraging on, because right then and there, that day you're hunting and the next couple days, whatever that is probably the best forage on the mountain at that time, at that elevation. So there's so many variables that go into it. The person was asking me, where can I find forbs this time of year if that's the best forage? Well, you're not going to find many of them. They've had to transition from forbs to grasses, and then they'll go to shrubs. Now, if you were in places that have, mahogany, Gamble's oak, even if it's mostly aspens, they'll already have transitioned to those shrubs now, because there's still a lot of nutritional value in those shrubs, not as much as in grasses, but, one, especially when, Colorado comes to mind, right? You just see a whole sea of oak.
Yeah.
It's like, who wants to go chase an elk in there? Well, guess what?
The elk are in there. Yeah,
they're in there. And there's an awful lot of food in there, and they don't have to move very far to find it or to go after it. I think you got a good dose of that in the film I saw of yours the other day.
There was some, there was a lot of oak in there.
Yeah, and so oak are one of those shrubs that's way more nutritious than the other shrubs they end up with later in the year, like, serviceberry, buckbrush, we often call it.
Are they eating the leaves off of those shrubs? So the oak, they're eating the leaves, the green leaves off of those. And same with aspen.
Yep. Aspens, how you usually get like that. They really prefer, like, an aspen community is almost like one great big organism, right?
One big root.
Yeah. They're going to go after the very succulent ends off the limb, or any new sprouts, or whatever you want to call it.
Coming up out of the ground.
Yeah. And then with the Gamble's oak, sometimes there's actually an acorn crop on some of that. And so they can do that. And then on the mahogany, you get the current year growth on that mahogany that's about, 2-3 inches long. That's just really soft and lush. Man, they're just like put on the feed bag.
Yeah.
So,
see, I don't pay a lot of attention to feed during hunting season, because we're primarily hunting during the rut. So I'm using a bugle tube to find the elk. But in the spring, man, when we're shed hunting, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, and it's usually the dry stems of willows and aspens and stuff that you can see they're just mowed off at the end. Everything within about an eighth of an inch or something, that and smaller, is just chomped right off. And you're like, man, the elk spent the winter in here. They ate everything off of these things. And
yeah. This time of year, elk are way more mobile.
yeah,
The abundance of where they can find what they need, the entire landscape is available to them.
yeah,
And so they're moving, and you need to be moving.
yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
Oh.
But so those were some of the questions that we've had. I don't know if I've made up good enough answers, or people are just like, he's full of it. What a blowhard.
Well, there's just so I've never studied the feed part of things because I haven't felt like I've needed to find elk. Our method is just go and cover a bunch of country with a bugle tube and get an answer. Yep. But there's a whole nother level of science there that, you can find elk based on knowing the feed and just spending some time in the summer in the mountains, camping, hiking, backpacking, fishing, whatever. You're going to bump elk. You're going to see fresh elk tracks. And, like you said, they don't have to move around on a year like this very much. So if you're seeing those tracks, look around and learn what the feed sources are, because the feed that we have in the, at 8,000 feet in Idaho is going to be completely different than what you find in southern Colorado, or completely different than what you find in New Mexico or Arizona or Oregon. Everything's got different kinds of forbs and grasses and shrubs. And so go out and see where the tracks are, where the sign is, notice what they're eating, and then replicate that.
Yep. And if you do see them, make really good notes and observations about, wonder why they were in here.
Huh.
Well, there's probably a reason why they were there.
We know why the bull was there, but
yeah,
that's not going to help us. We got to know why the cows are there.
Yeah. So I don't know. This time of year, I struggle to really get too nerded out on forage in September, because on this kind of a year, when there's forage everywhere, like we said earlier, it's like the entire landscape looks like a smorgasbord. So, but we'll get through archery season. I'll still have a tag in Montana, and then I'll get to rifle season. Then I'll worry about it.
Yep. I have a rifle tag this year as well.
In Idaho?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll heck with you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear.
You guys can buy a second tag when non-residents turn them back.
We can. So after the 1st of August, so non-residents get full exclusive access to all the non-resident tags until the 1st of August. And then after the 1st of August, if there's anything turned back in or left over, a resident can purchase it at the non-resident price. So there just happened to be a later season rifle tag available. And I thought, well, that just gives me another reason to be out in the woods for a week later in the fall. So Donnie and I actually each got a rifle tag. So I texted Bo Beatty and said, hey, do you happen to have a couple llamas that would be available in late October, early November? And he assured me that he would make sure that there were a couple available. So
okay, well, that's good to know, because I'm renting a whole herd of them. That's last part of October.
I know. It's a pretty popular time. So
yeah, I'd be like one of those. What's that Jungle Boy kid who rode on the back of the elephant? I'm waiting to put together like 4 llamas that I could just sit up there and like. In my luck, they'd get tired of that and they'd just dump the whole wagon, and I'll be cartwheeling down the side of the mountain.
I told you about my daughter Jessie's plan, right? She wanted to hunt with llamas, and she was going to lead them side by side and put a board over the top of the pack saddles between them and then sit on that board.
Yeah.
So
like you got a wide trail.
Little chariot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That works until one decides he wants to lead and the other wants to follow.
I was going to say, I've never seen 2 of them walk side by side and be very happy about it for very long.
No, they aren't. That's one thing about llamas. You are not going to yoke them together and go side by side, because one of them's going to be more dominant than the other.
There's a pecking order, and if it hasn't already been determined, it's going to be real shortly.
Yeah, and the dude who's in charge decides who goes first, who goes second, who goes third, and if he doesn't like being in the back, he's going to let you know.
Yeah, and I was going to say, the one that's in charge might not want to be in front, but he's going to go where he wants to be.
Right. And when he finally calms down, you're like, oh, he wanted to be number 2. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I guess you learned that a little bit.
I was going to say, there's a little trial and error. Yeah, it's like, man, they're really pulling here. Or these two, when we go, we usually take 4, and so I'll lead 2 and Donnie will lead 2. And sometimes there's one in the back that just doesn't want to be back. He can't see the front ones. And so you put him in front and he's just fine. And the other one's like, we don't care if they get ahead of us. And so it's a little bit of a guessing game there until you get it figured out.
Yeah, usually the problem children are the young 3 and 4-year-olds. Kind of like in the human world, right? By the time you get in your 40s, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, my wife probably wouldn't agree with that. She's like, he's still a problem child.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm hoping that people are going out. Hope they find some tag, some place that they can go. There are still some. I was just out looking, Corey, out on the Idaho website. I was out there this morning. No, you already got 2.
I know. There are tags available in Idaho for a non-resident, so it's.
And so I just thought, people need to know that you could still go if you want to. I don't want to hear any sniveling and whining out there that, oh boy, I didn't get to go this year.
It becomes over the counter at this point, so they could literally buy a tag right now.
Right now, there are 556 non-resident elk tags available that you could go and buy one of them. Boom.
Right now. That probably won't be, but.
So, by the time this podcast airs, I don't know how many will be there, but if you aren't paying attention, you probably aren't going to get any.
Yeah.
So, yeah. 2023 non-resident elk tag limits and caps. Tag limit in column left. Tags remaining, column right. There you go.
Yep.
What do I know?
No excuses. It's not as fun as waiting in line and getting put in a waiting room on December 1st and going through all of that headache. And, it's not as fun as that, but now you can just go to their website, click on it and say, put this in my cart and give it to me. And nobody's standing in line. Nobody's putting you in a wait. You just go.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine the guy who might have missed 5 hours of work one day waiting in line, and now he goes on there and he looks, he's like, there's still leftover tags.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, these probably aren't the most desirable ones, but with 500 and some tags, I mean, they're spread over a pretty good cross-section of different areas within the state. So while they might not be your first choice, they're an elk tag. There is absolutely a guaranteed population of elk in that zone, and you can go and hunt on public land. Yeah.
So I don't know if we should be telling people that stuff.
Wow. That was not a very nice thing to say, Randy.
Well, next year I might be that guy looking for one of those.
Exactly.
And I'm going to say that Corey Jacobson told everybody how to do this. No, there's no tags.
We get plenty of that. There's plenty of people that blame us for ruining hunting and telling everybody to come hunting.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's just how she goes. And as Grandma Harriet, who was the completely inefficient, well, not inefficient, the incompetent cooker of red meat, Grandma Harriet used to say, "You've mistaken me for someone who cares about your hurt feelings." I try not to say that, but there's times I feel
not to
that
say
way.
It very often.
No, I just think of Grandma Harriet with her Pall Mall non-filter hanging off the end of her mouth.
Oh my goodness!
You have any grandparents that smoke, Corey?
Oh yeah, my grandparents on my mom's side, my grandma.
Yeah.
It was Marlboro, however you say it.
Yeah.
But it was, man, she smoked. She smoked like a chimney.
At least she went for the filtered side if she did Marlboro.
Yeah.
My grandma, Harriet and Grandpa Bob, they did Pall Mall non-filters all their life. They told her, Harriet, that stuff's going to kill you. Sure enough, it did.
Yeah.
She died at age 86.
Outlived a lot of people that never touched a cigarette in their life, probably.
Yeah. I wouldn't encourage it, though.
No.
I can't imagine what she would have had for a retirement fund if she hadn't spent that much money on smokes every day. If anyone is saying they can't afford to go hunting or buy a tag or travel wherever, but you're smoking or chewing, you're done. That argument is done with me.
You can kill two birds with one stone right there.
There you go. I got a therapy here for you. You use the idea of going on an elk hunt as a motivation to quit that tobacco problem.
Yeah. I use the money you save to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to keep chewing or smoking, it's none of my business. But just don't, be out there complaining on Facebook about the price of a non-resident elk tag or something, or the price, price of a fishing license or something. Same thing if you drink a 12-pack of beer every Friday night, the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just drink 2 beers. Drink a 12-pack a month instead of a 12-pack every 2 days or something.
Yeah. Or the coffee in the morning, or
all
these other people out there who are saying that about you right now. They're like, you're getting awful personal here, and
I know. So here's how I've solved that. And people are going to hear a little ad in this podcast is I make my own coffee at home now. I do a little pour over jobby.
Really?
Have you ever seen me making my own coffee?
I don't think I have.
Oh, my wife says I concentrate more on making my own coffee than I do anything in my life.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. I must get this really intense look. But there's this group, Elkhorn Coffee Roasters. They're based in Bozeman.
Who's the owner of that?
Scott and April Parson.
Yeah, I met Scott.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he's there's just your classic mom and dad starting out the business. The kids go there and work at it, and it's so you and I being appreciative of the hardworking American. If anyone wants to save some money, use promo code Elk Talk out at
Really?
Elkhorn Coffee Roasters.
Nice.
And people get to save some money.
Excellent.
And they won't have to pay that Starbucks.
That's where I was going with it. If you want to save money, cut out that $7 whatever they call those. I'm not a coffee drinker, so that's
Well, most of the things you order at a Starbucks looks like a root beer float or something.
Exactly.
I don't know what. Like, what is in that thing?
Yeah.
And now
Frappuccino, macca latte, something or another.
You gotta speak Italian or Spanish or French or something, which right there's a cause to not order one. You go to the Starbucks and I think that dude who served me that pizza and got me food poisoned up there in Portland was a goofy looking dude. A lot of those riffraff working at the Starbucks ain't a whole lot different. I mean, I've questioned my sanity of, do I really want to eat something or drink something that came across that counter there? But just make your own.
By golly, you'll go walking into Dairy Queen and pick something across that counter.
Well, that's true. But usually it's been frozen long enough.
I guess that's true. You freeze something long enough and it's bound to kill most of the junk.
I hope I don't get anything from the Dairy Queen. But anyhow, if you want to save money on coffee, make your own. Don't drive through that, whatever joint there.
Yeah.
Make your own. You get up 5 minutes earlier in the morning, make your own coffee, and you can afford a non-resident elk tag next year.
Yeah, or this year. I'm on the website right now, and I'll tell you, if you're looking in Idaho at the Lolo zone, the Middle Fork zone, the Selway zone, those are tough. There are absolutely elk in every one of those zones. Don't get me wrong. Access is a little limited to a degree, but there are elk there, and there are A tags and B tags available in all 3 of those zones. But there are also other zones that are highly desirable zones right now that are available.
I know.
So there you go.
I know that.
Go hunt.
I know.
Go and get an elk tag and go elk hunting.
Yeah. And don't blow all your money on smokes and snooze and coffee.
And when you run into the locals, don't tell them that you're hunting there because Corey and Randy motivated you to do it. Then I'll get more nasty emails from people saying, you're ruining hunting. There's more people in my spot than ever. I'm like, maybe in your spot, but the state of Idaho has limited the number of tags sold for a long time. And
you guys only do 12,000 non-resident elk tags. You need to get with the program. We do 17,000 here in Montana.
We actually lowered ours.
And then you can get over-the-counter cow tags all over Montana. They always tell us, you only got 17,000 non-resident hunters in Montana. We had almost, I can't remember what it was, like 40-some thousand when you counted all the doe tags and cow elk tags. Yeah.
Wow.
So, no wonder our resident fees are so low.
Yeah.
People crazy enough to come here and buy a cow tag for whatever it is. I don't even know. But anyhow, Elkhorn Coffee Roasters. Go there. Cool. Use promo code Elk Talk. Save yourself some money. And the best coffee known to man is the Big Hank version of Elkhorn Coffee Roasters. I have yet to send that as a gift to somebody or serve it to somebody who they didn't say, whoa, what coffee is this? So there you go. Yeah. Save some money, never pay full retail.
That's right.
Promo code Elk Talk. If it doesn't work, call Corey. He'll fix that for you.
My default is always Randy. Like if Elk Talk doesn't work, there's always, I don't know what you have. If you have a fresh tracks code somewhere or something, there's the Elk 101, try all those. But if everything else fails, just say, you know what, just go ahead and use code Randy.
There you go.
And I have yet to be denied. I mean, I think you could probably, if you said it with enough confidence, get a discount at Walmart using code Randy.
Someone told me that they think companies are using promo code Randy, even though I don't have a relationship.
Exactly. So many people are trying it on their website. They're like, just make it one that works.
Yeah, I need to patent that or trademark that or whatever. I don't know. But so trying to think of what else problems we got to solve for the world before we head out elk hunting, Corey.
I know. I hate cutting these short, especially knowing that this podcast specifically is probably going to be the most listened to podcast driving to elk camp in September this year. And so just want to make sure people are inspired and motivated and given a boost of confidence to get out there and make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
This is going to be the greatest elk season ever.
Best one this year for sure.
Absolutely the best one this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the best one.
We talk about it 11 months out of the year. We look forward to it, and it's here. It's here. So enjoy it. Don't stress about it. Don't, fret about not filling a tag. Go and enjoy. I mean, try to fill a tag and have fun, but this is what we dream about, and it's here. So,
yeah. If you end up getting fired because you're doing too much elk hunting, well, you didn't want to work at that joint anyhow.
I was gonna say you didn't have a good job if you got fired for hunting elk too much.
No, you were looking for a job when you got this one. I've never fired or laid anyone off because they hunted too much.
Really?
Even at the CPA firm, it's like, oh boy, we're up against a big deadline. But hey, if you got a hunt lined up, you just go. This client, they teach them to extend their tax return. There's only so many hunting seasons in a person's lifetime, Corey.
And what do you say? You'll run out of health before you run out of money.
Yep. I see that on a frequent basis. You see people running out of health.
Yeah.
And you don't want to rub it in, but in your mind, it causes you to think, I bet you that person doesn't say, gee, I'm glad I hunted too much.
Yep.
So, go.
That's right.
And if your employer says anything about it, have them call me. I'll set them straight. I'll tell them where the bear poops in the woods. So.
Randy's full of vinegar today.
I mean, we don't live in elk country for the money.
Well, that's true.
Right?
That is true.
If you and I wanted to make lots of money, we would not be living in Montana or Idaho.
Not in the places we live in Montana and Idaho, especially.
Yeah. We live here to hunt for the elk hunting.
Yeah.
We don't tell our wives that, but that's really why we live here. And if your employer can't deal with that, well, go get a different job.
Man, preach it, Randy.
Some people would be like, Newberg, you going to give me a job? I got laid off. I elk hunted 2 extra days. I showed up. They had all my stuff in a box and said, see you later. Well, you don't want to work for that outfit anyhow.
Exactly.
My theory. But
there's a lot of people looking for good employers right now, or good employees right now. A lot of employers looking for good employees.
Yeah. So go enjoy your elk hunting.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure your employer will understand it. And right now it's an employee's market anyhow, right?
Yep.
You walk in there and say, hey, boss, I might have to quit if you don't give me an extra week off for elk season. I bet you the boss would say, all right, see you in 2 weeks instead of 1 week. So, no, the real boss at home, well, I'm not going to tell you how to handle that deal.
Yeah, that's the next podcast, Marriage Advice from Randy, and Corey is not in on that.
If the boss at home fires you, then you've got problem.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's just, don't go there. So, we better turn this off, Corey. I'm about ready to say something that'll really get us in trouble. I was watching the news last night, and I'm just like, man, my uncle's got it pegged right. He calls it, I'm going to go watch the bad news, is what he says.
Doesn't even call it the news, just the bad news.
The bad news. Time to watch the bad news. Why did I even bother turning this on? And a couple of anecdotes from the newscast last night, I almost said them. Some rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna.
Okay.
So.
Leave us in suspense.
Well, no, I don't want to ruin a good day. You got a weekend coming up, elk season coming up. Who the hell cares about that stuff that's on the bad news?
Exactly.
Yep. Forget about those people. They'll still be around when elk season's over. They'll still be fighting and arguing and throwing
the same things, the same stories as what there was 10 years ago. You could go and watch the news from 10 years ago and be like, wow, I didn't realize that was going on right now.
So, did I ever tell you about the time when I went to D.C. lobbying on the Land and Water Conservation Fund? I think this was in 2013, 14 or 15. And your senator, Senator Risch, was one of the people the lobbyist brought me to see. And so there's kind of this lull. Someone else who was supposed to be there, and he looks at me. He's like, "You're from Montana?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you think of this operation here in D.C.?" And the lobbyists, they kind of keep you on a tight leash. I said, "It reminds me of professional wrestling." He's like, "What?" I'm like, well, it's all a big charade and a big game. You got to have a villain and a good guy, and and then you go have drinks after you yell and scream at each other. When the news cameras leave, everybody's pals again. He looked at me, he's like, "Yeah,
all right."
He just kind of nodded his head, like, "Yeah, I guess you got us now." But then the lobbyists, the guys who were, in charge of, keeping me from saying anything too bad, they shuffled me out of there in a hurry. They're like, you're not supposed to go off script like that. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, that's the stuff we talk about in Montana and Idaho. Well, he probably is going to go home tonight, and his wife will say, well, any interesting conversations today? And he'll say, yeah, some guy from Montana got us figured out. He said that politics is just like professional wrestling.
And he probably turned on his TV and scrolled through and looked for Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Savage and
Rowdy Piper and the whole works,
Yeah, it just reminded me of that guy. Reminded me I've been missing out on all of this.
Yeah, so that has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that the news is kind of like WWE. It's the same business model.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have a good guy and a bad guy, and depending on what channel you're on. Well, on this channel, that dude's the good guy, and these are the bad guys, and screaming and yelling, and you can't even hear what they're saying. They're yelling at each other so much. It's like, didn't your parents teach you any manners? No. Anyhow, that has nothing to do with elk hunting.
It doesn't, but it's elk season. And
clear your mind of that stuff. Ignore it. It's static. That's all it is static. Go watch professional wrestling before you watch that stuff.
No, just go elk hunting. Don't watch either of them. They're both a waste of your time. Mostly go elk hunting.
Yeah. But one of them called me the other day and wanted me to be on a Wednesday night talk show on one of the news channels. I'm like, really? I'm busy, man. Yeah.
You didn't do it? Oh, man, no. You'd be good on a talk show.
No, I think they weeded me out. It's kind of like jury selection. If you want to get off a jury, just say you're a CPA. You'll get booted out of every jury pool there is.
Really?
Yeah, because CPAs, everything's black or it's white. There's none of this gray area. So there's not a defense attorney in the world that wants to have a CPA on a jury because you're guilty or you're innocent and you're probably guilty.
Yeah.
So
this is somewhat related. I got called in for jury duty last week, and I had to show up for selection. And they went through and they weed out people pretty quickly to start with. Anybody in here that's been convicted of a felony or whatever the questions are, and then they go through and pretty soon a guy raises his hand and he said, I've got a real problem with law enforcement. They railroaded me a few years ago, and I can't get over that. And that's just it makes me mad sitting here in a courtroom, and I don't think I could be. I would stick up for the guy that's being defended here because I don't like law enforcement.
He was gone.
And the judge said, "Counsel, any concerns with letting him go home?" Nope. I thought, man, that's a good one. If I need to get out of jury duty sometime,
I don't know.
Didn't even
I don't know how I connected the dot to. How did I get on jury duty?
Being from big time wrestling to jury duty it's elk season. Let's let them go because we're going to come up with something else.
People are like, boy, these guys really added a lot of value today. All we found is just their view of the world of politics being nothing more than WWE. Mean Gene Okerlund being your MC or whatever.
So. We apologize for the last 25 minutes of this podcast because there's not been a whole lot of value there. So.
In case anyone doesn't know, it's been a stressful week here in Bozeman, Montana. So Randy's
got it all released here.
Yeah, got it all off my chest, and now I'm getting ready to go on a hike this afternoon and. Maybe I'll bring my flute with me and see if any elk answer.
There you go. Yeah, bring your pipe.
What am I supposed to do if they answer?
Don't call them in. Just get an answer and move on.
Move on.
Don't educate them. Yeah.
Okay.
Not yet.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. Thanks for being here, folks. Have a great weekend, Corey.
You too, and best of luck to everybody out there chasing elk.
Yep. Get them. Shoot them a little bit.